Hello, everybody. My name is Ulfgarður, and welcome back to Yvardsaga. Sorry for the long stream warm up. We're still kind of waiting for everybody to get here, including Carl. Yes, just in time, Carl. Perfect timing. Also, mood. That was me earlier today because earlier today, while out dealing with a criminal goat, uh, I found a loose nail from some previous construction project that had fallen onto the ground or I dropped, and somehow my bad luck aligned. I stepped on it, and it went through my shoe and into my foot. So that was me earlier. I hear you there. So if you see me grimacing in pain randomly, it's probably because I have a wound in my foot that is bothering me. But so far, it's actually been not too terrible. Um, the more exciting thing in that general form of Loki be like that, yes, so true. So true. And it's of course it's the goats. It's always the goats that do stupid stuff like that to me, whether directly or otherwise. Um, but fun announcement. Lifetime milestone achieved. Tomorrow I get surgery for the first time. That's not just like like a diagnostic procedure. Um, like a corrective surgery, which is great. Not for anything like major, like nothing is super wrong in that regard, but my time in the army messed up my sinuses super bad, and I've finally been getting them looked at and worked on, and so I'm actually getting surgery to fix my sinuses because they are way too way too wrong anymore. uh so yeah, that'll be fun. I don't know if we'll be able to play next week, or all if all will still be too drugged up for the pain or what, but I think we probably will, as far as that being the reason we don't goes. I'm not expecting to feel super shitty. Wolf's getting a nose job. He's gone rogue Hollywood on us. Yeah, something like that, Carl. There's a couple different things kind of wrong that they're fixing. So far as I know, I shouldn't look any different, but I might sound different. Uh, so I don't know. There might be a change in my voice quality from here on out. Uh, just because my sinuses will be actually usable and clear instead of 80 to 90% clogged in like 3 out of 4 of the main chambers in my face. So that'll be fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I also don't know what to expect. And then our baby shower is on Sunday, so I get to I'll probably be a little loopy on hydrocodone during our baby shower, which will probably be fine. Smell the smells you could never smell before, even the smelly smells that smell smelly. Oh, those are the only ones I can smell, Carl. Don't worry. The bad smells I smell fine. It's the good ones, or the ones that, like, it would be helpful to identify properly. Those are what my bad sense of smell has neglected to inform me about over the years. And I've just never had a good sense of smell to begin with. But yeah, this will be fun. It'll be an experience. We'll see how it goes. I'm hoping it'll give me an easier time coming up with a variety of character voices, uh, which is an actual consideration that I've had as a result of getting the surgery, just in time for dirty diaper time. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, yeah, you right. But yeah, so I guess that's my news and updates this week. I hope everybody's week has been going okay. Um, But we're here to play a game. So what do you say we play a game? We're getting started on travel today. The party is leaving the establishing town of Darbiton, where they've been for the entire campaign up to this point, and they're leaving for the first time to venture off into the wider world. So I'm excited to see what sorts of shenanigans they get themselves into now in the broader context of the region. So let's go ahead and switch over here. Let me make sure we hear them when they show up.
Stuck.
Stuck.
And destroyed.
Stuck and
Talk
destroyed.
about Emma. He
Oh,
stole my yarn.
Oh,
By that I mean she touched it, and I know this yarn will rip at like a moment's notice, so I wasn't going to
yeah.
play tug of war with her.
Good
And
idea.
she took my
Such a
entire project and my yarn ball.
Oh,
such a great thing
would
to
you
make a
like me to go get it?
blanket from.
It's close enough. I can
You know,
reach it.
yarn that will break when looked at. It's not like you ever touch a blanket.
Nope.
It's only fragile when it's not coerced into its many knots.
Ah.
But Ulf, you and Stream missed some fantastic conversation.
Oh, I have no
It's
Mm.
doubt.
true.
I generally assume we do. It's okay. I was giving Stream fun updates about my recent medical escapades today and tomorrow. Uh,
Hooray!
yeah, I get surgery tomorrow, which is fun. First time I
Oh,
get like surgery, but it'll be good. They're fixing my face.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm happy for you. You've had that whole situation your whole life, and I'm happy that you're finally getting uh
Fix your
the uh
face.
the fixing.
Can you can you hear the look I'm giving you right now?
I can, and
I can hear his
it
face.
is very much eyes rolling. For fuck's sakes, mon. Uh,
Good
it's
save.
bad.
Yeah,
Can
no, it was more Ron Swanson deadpan stare. Yes, Pez.
Uh,
I spend too much money on yarn again?
Sure.
Cool.
Excellent.
Because I've decided that 4 fuzzy balls is enough balls.
Okay.
But I would like them to all be the same color, I think.
Okay.
I will not mix and match my fuzzy balls.
Fair enough.
someone
I
wants
believe you are not
uniform
the only one.
balls.
I believe you are not the only one who holds that sentiment in life. Um, but fun fact for Possum and Rad, I had another fun adventure today. If you hear me making random sounds that sound like I'm in pain, I stepped on a nail.
Ooh.
Oh,
It's
if
good
you make
times.
random sounds like you're in pain, it's because you are.
Yeah. Pez
Oh.
Pez keeps Hobby Lobby afloat. Well, we tried to keep Joanne's afloat. We liked Joanne's, but Joanne's shut down ultimately. We were not strong enough
Yeah,
in
I
the
don't know what the
force.
fuck she was doing with our money. I gave her
Oh,
so much.
yeah. Also, don't go to Hobby Lobby. They're owned by bad people.
Heck.
We trying, man. We trying.
Yeah. But yeah, their owners are very against. You know how June is like Pride Month? They're very
Mm,
against that.
Yeah.
lame.
I think I read an article that the Michaels is picking up all the fabric contracts that Joanne had.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
They're
Yeah.
buying all of like the Joanne's brand name. Stop touching my yarn. But she's doing
Excellent.
it so slowly. She's like reaching as slow as possible, one single claw into it and dragging it back towards
If
herself.
I do this
That
slowly enough, she won't notice.
no, that's why
she
cats understand naughty and they choose it.
Yep,
Hi, can
absolutely
I have
yes.
that back? Thank you.
um,
No,
but
medical question. Do you have your tetanus shot?
I do, yes. I got my tetanus
Okay.
shot a
That
couple
was
years ago. Oh no,
discussed.
we would not be playing tonight if I stepped on a nail and did not have my tetanus shot.
Okay,
No,
good.
That's
I deal with
that's what
enough.
EA is nice about.
Yeah,
Keeping you up to date.
yeah.
Yeah, because if Ulf got tetanus and he got lockjaw, nobody wins in that situation. He
Um,
can't DM with his jaw shut.
True, true. I could still write though. You just
Yeah,
have to wait for the
but
books to come out in 10 to 25 years.
No.
yeah, and again, that's not gonna work for me. Okay.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, let's make the most of it while I can still talk then, just in case it slips through the defenses and gets me tomorrow.
Oh no.
So, we are picking up. You guys are leaving Darbiton, finally. It only took us 22 sessions to leave Darbiton, but we got there. I guess technically you did leave pretty spectacularly when you were underground, but
I was gonna say we left Arbiton pretty frickin' quick. Don't.
that's fair. Fair point. Um, but if I recall correctly, your plan, you were thinking you would kind of cut up this way through the prairie where there are no roads, up to the Good King's Road, and then just take the established major roadway the rest of the journey.
Correct.
Okay. Were you thinking you would take Ron with you?
I think we are comfortable letting him settle back into home for a while.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I know you had talked about it, and he had said he'd be willing to take you, but he just wasn't gonna stay with you.
Yeah, that we were kind of looking for more of a long-term thing, but he's not ready for that. So,
Fair.
you know, he figured, he we had an adult discussion about it, made sure expectations were clear up front, so we're not leading anybody on.
Fair point. That is generally how he prefers to do things, so your maturity is very much appreciated.
And we
It's a
told
him, not us.
Yeah.
and we told the alchemist, not alchemist, botanist, whatever, to go talk to Ron.
Yes.
Yep.
Herbalist.
That one. English is my second language now, as we've discussed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. So, in going this route, I can draw lines. So in going this route, you can get about this far day one, barring any major setbacks or events in your travels. And then you'll get about here and here on day two. And then from there, it'll be, let's see, that's 1, 2, and 3. So you'll be a good like 5 or 6 miles at the end of day 3 if you wanted to push it and just get into town after dark. You could, or you'd be far enough away that there would be campsites by the road that people use somewhat frequently if they don't push on for the last leg of it. But that is entirely up to you, and we'll see how the rest of the trip goes ahead of it to decide what you guys want to do. You don't have to commit to that now. Because up first, you get to navigate the prairies. So you leave Darbiton and essentially, like Field of Dreams, just walk off into, well, it's not corn, but it's vaguely corn colored as far as like the actual corn edible parts go. You just get to walk off into the grass, and when you first leave Darbiton, um, actually, could one of you roll me a D100, please?
I'll do it. I need the bad rolls out first.
Get the bad rolls
Volunteer.
out on the ones that affect all of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we share the burden. We can all
D100?
fix it.
Yes, please.
Okay. 11, how bad is that? That's
I
pretty
didn't-
low for 100.
Are we playing golf?
Okay, and then could I get somebody to roll me a D6?
Do we want to share that, or Rad? You going double or nothing?
Don't learn nothing. If you don't mind.
Yeah, double or nothing. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, let's get triple ones.
Okay,
It's a
so
magical day.
the 100 is to determine the temperature, not that it is 11 degrees out, but it'll be surprisingly cold your first day out. And this is later on in the year, getting towards like the actual autumn. So this will be one of the first really actually kind of like on the colder end of chilly, but still maybe not quite fully cold. But like you'll want jackets unless Yegier probably won't care.
What's cold?
So you would know that strange phenomenon because you know the language that has no word for cold, but you are affected by it.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
I did not inherit that from my my
you
sire.
you are not immune to the cold.
Ain't that some BS?
Yeah, Because fun fact,
I am resistant though.
yeah, that's fair.
I'm just not immune.
Not immune,
No.
but Goliaths cannot feel cold, and most other people up in the crown that are not giants still can. So one thing I have canonical in Evard is that in the giant language, even though other giants can feel cold, at least among Goliath clans in the world, there's not a word for cold because they just
Oh,
don't
oh, it's nice out today.
they don't understand what that is. Something either has heat in the giant language or it does not. That's the difference. So there's a fun world building nugget for everybody today. Um,
Hmm.
but so it's fairly chilly today. Cole and Nemo, you guys would probably be wanting to bundle up with like a cloak or a coat, something
Mhm.
decently heavy. Um, and the D6 was just for the weather conditions themselves, not the temperature. And so you're going through here, and it is very windy, but it is otherwise a fairly clear day. So you're not
Sweet,
getting
sweet.
stormed on, but it's cold and it's windy, and so that wind is coming down. You're walking into the wind as you're making your way through here.
So cold and windy combines to the effect of whimdy.
Yes, it's not quite fucking windy, but it is
Okay.
windy.
The whimdy.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So as you begin your trek facing into the wind, getting teary-eyed for how quickly your eyes start getting dried out from all of this airflow blasting in your face. For the first like quarter mile or so after you leave Darbiton, most of the prairie grass is fairly flat as far as the topography underneath it, I guess, so not just the grass, but the grass itself is like knee to waist high in places. But after that first like half mile or so, this stuff gets to be like 6 feet tall, if not a little taller. Like there are points of Yejiye you would have to be on your tippy toes in order to actually see over the tops. Like this stuff is dense and not a lot of fun to go through, particularly if you were under 6 feet tall. Um, so
Nemo can't see shit, but that's okay. She's used to that. She's just walked behind someone the entire time.
yeah, pretty much. The nice thing about traversing terrain in wilderness like this is it's really hard to lose your friends if you're walking in a pretty straight line because in order to get through it, you have to trample down a path that is unmistakable. So if you lose sight of somebody for a little bit, all you have to do is backtrack your own trail to the last time you saw them, and you'll see where they went. So odds of getting split up, maybe not quite so high as far as, some wilderness areas you could be traveling through, but it's still challenging. Prairies are better in wedge formation. It's true, Carl. That's fair. Um, I had a thought, but yes. So somebody, please make a survival check for me to actually make sure you are navigating in the proper direction.
I would like
I'm
to remind you
yeah,
of my background.
yeah,
Oh,
I'm gonna
that's right.
recommend she does.
I mean, I will
Mhm.
also be happily make the roll, but I would like to remind you of the background, whether that affects the DC or gives me
It
any sort
it
of
will
bonus.
affect the DC.
Okay, would you like the wording on that again?
Yes, please.
Okay, my yarn's being assaulted again. You have excellent memory for maps and geography. You can always recall the general layout of terrain, settlements, and other features around you. In addition, you can find food, blah blah blah, water, 5 people.
Yep.
That part wasn't important. The first half
How
was the important part.
I
How do
feel
you
like that was
find
really
blah
important.
blah
Blah blah
blah?
blah. 5 people.
Yeah.
Let me read it verbatim. Reads half of it verbatim.
And then blah blah blahs through arguably what might be one of the most important parts.
It will be
It's
important once we start looking around for food. It's the you can find food and fresh water for up to 5 people, provided that the land has berries, small game, water, and so forth.
Yep. So
So Ayeshe is gonna find enough to share with Nemo and be like, "Well, that's it."
I eat
Sorry,
enough for
Cole.
3 people.
um, so the wording on that definitely makes this an easier skill check for you, but it says you can remember what's where. It doesn't say you remember where you are in relation to it. It's the same way I kind of get around people telling me keen mind is a guarantee for successful navigation. No, you can know where north is. That doesn't mean you know like where you are in relation to the place you are trying to get. I still
Yeah,
require
I'm thinking
survival checks.
if we're in a spot that has low enough grass, being able to see any landmarks, even if that landmark is like the frickin' crown, or those foothills off to the left, or the forest straight ahead.
I
Wait,
remember that
are we
rock.
using flat Evard theory at play here?
No.
That you can see the crown?
Excuse
No.
me?
No.
A cylinder?
No. God damn it.
The other campaign has some interesting theories in the shape of Eva that Ulf does not like us bringing up, every third session.
Well, you brought it up, so go ahead and enlighten
I brought
them.
it up in this one.
No,
If a
that's what I'm
tornado
saying.
suddenly shows up, I know who to blame now.
To be fair, I started
Specifically,
this.
the
That's
theory
who I'm
in the other
blaming.
campaign is it's a hollow cylinder and there's gnomes that live on the inside that push up the grass and everything.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
So Evard is actually just a hollow cylinder.
It's
I don't think we
Cylinder
decided
Evard.
if it has a top and a bottom,
I have
or if
no
it's just
fucking
like a
clue.
toilet paper tube.
I tend to leave the room when you guys start discussing this with any level of fervency.
It's true. Regular survival?
Yes.
Oh man, I was trying to get my bad rolls out too.
You really a navigation survival check? That's what you want to have a bad roll on?
Gotta
Yeah.
get him out of the way early.
I was gonna say, we show up in Oxbow.
Hey, I'd be fine going to Oxbow. I know who's there.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's just the opposite direction.
Um.
Oh, they gotta go back in the fields again. No.
Okay, so yeah, it definitely helps once you figure out that the winds are coming down from the north, which it was a little harder to keep track of that at one point in the tallest of the grasses, where even a Yejier you were kind of still within the thicket of vegetation, even at face level. So it was possible to not have the wind able to help you keep straight going north, because you wouldn't be able to necessarily feel it so strongly in your face. But you managed to get through some of these thicker areas of this tall stuff and get back into more like 4 to 5 foot tall grasses, which is the majority of what this part of the fringe is off the roads. And you find that you are still going the right direction. The wind is still in your face, referring to uh, the sun and the landmark, because you can see that particularly hilly region off on the left of the map here.
Mhm.
You can see that just barely off in the distance, but it's still there, so you've kept your heading pretty well for the better part of the first day.
I would like it known I'm not above using Nemo as like a wind direction kite, just tying a rope to her and throwing her in the air with her wings out. I'm not above that.
Fair enough.
Nemo, I
Good
need
to
you to let
know.
out your wings. Why?
Yeet.
Yeet.
Okay, noted. um, yeah. So your first bit of the day is through this really pretty thick grass that the topography underneath starts to roll a bit more. It's not super hilly. The most exciting thing that happens for the first significant leg of your trip is every now and then your boots would step into what you thought was like matted down grass, and suddenly you would be down to like almost your knee in water. Just like
Oh.
surprise little pocket ponds that there's no way to perceive until you're in it because the vegetation just covers it so much. But you do get to see some fun wildlife on your trip once you're in spaces where you can actually see again. You will get to see at least one big migrating herd of elk in the area. And when I say big, this is probably like 200 to 300 elk. Like it is a significant social group, and they don't really seem to care about you guys. They're also not close enough when you would be coming upon them to really have any
Be
potential
careful.
conflict unless you guys really wanted to go start some shit. But you get a fairly straightforward and kind of peaceful beginning to your wilderness journey. Any questions from you guys or things you would like to look for, discuss amongst yourselves as you travel before I continue?
It is Nemo's turn to ask questions.
Yes.
Like, so where are you two from?
I'm from Matavia. I thought that was pretty obvious by this point. Do I remember the town she's from? Absolutely not.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if it was on the map or not.
It is not.
Nemo,
I
no,
keep
where
I keep
that
meaning
is.
to put it on there.
Nemo would probably at least know where Matavia is. It's north of Gareland, right against the Crown. Like, not in the Crown, but like the foothills of the Crown.
It's not often noted on a lot of world maps, but if you go, yeah, this whole valley area where, da, 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 this whole area over here, and then kind of out even after the mountains a little bit, is called Matavia Valley. Um, but it's not regularly marked on a lot of Evard's maps because, well, because there's reasons and history involved.
There's racism.
Unfortunately, yes, there is.
But if either Nemo or Cole know anything about the Great War, I'm pretty sure they'd know about Matavia somewhat.
Possibly. I would say that would require a history check if either of you want to see if you know anything about Matavia off the top of your head.
Yeah, I will off the top of my head.
Don't forget to get your bad rolls out of the way first.
Ah. Okay, so Cole, being from where you are from, you would know at least you would recognize the name Matavians, and you would recognize a particular term in relation to Matavia Valley, which would be the mountain line, where at the end of the Old Empire's War, so this is going to be more for chat because I know you guys know this, but so 329 years ago, the Old Empire's War between Gareland and Barad was raging in this middle territory that you guys are in now that's called the Fringe. And they were fighting for territory. Both nations were significantly larger in their borders. And they essentially imploded because they put all their resources into fighting each other over like 6,000 years. And they started having some of their farther away holdings kicking them out and declaring independence because these empires were just taking their money, taking their fighting aged men and women, taking their food and whatever other resources could be put to the war effort, but they didn't have anybody to sit there and guard the town from outside threats or from, declaring independence. So a lot of those places just said, fuck you, we're our own people now. And on the Gairland side of that happening, because it started happening more or less at the same time for both sides, and that's ultimately why the war ended, was the empires just said, we can't keep doing this, we're going to declare peace. And so this middle area of the fringe was a neutral space. Nobody was allowed to put a single soldier across the rivers between Barrethold and Gairland without violating the peace terms. And that's all gone to shit now. But they're not fighting each other currently. Um, but Cole, you would recognize the Matavian mountain line as a distinct historical occurrence that happened as Gairland's empire fell apart, because it was the first big section of the Garish Empire in its larger borders than the nation has now to reject them. In particular, these mountains to the north of Gairland, I'll get my drawing utensil back here. These mountains here, it's said that the inhabitants of Matavia Valley grabbed their weapons and their gear, they kicked out all the Garish soldiers that were there, and they stood shoulder to shoulder all across the mountains in one solid, unbroken line in order to keep Gairland from coming back. And that's how they declared their independence. So that is probably about the only thing you would know of Matavia Valley, but you would know that their independence from Gairland was something that really kind of helped solidify the end of the war. Because at that point, they were the example a lot of the other Garish holdings were inspired by to declare their own independence. But
It seems some of her personality traits may make more sense now.
how about that?
She will specify that she is from Arkungorba. There we go. I got my syllables right.
Yeah.
And she pauses for a second, and we might be known for trading sore goods, but I'm not sure we're known for anything.
Yes. I'm going to mark that on the map even just temporarily so you guys can see where that is. And also so Pez has a reminder of where that is.
Oh, it's something reminiscent of it, that Akerkraki. That's different.
I do not know what that is. I'm going to make that easier to see.
I saw it.
Yeah, so did I.
There you go.
Chat can't see it too bad. Get better eyes.
Exactly.
Zoom in.
Sucks to suck.
One of these. Okay, well, that'll have to work, I suppose. Oh god, that's not what I meant to do at all. There we go. Arkungorba.
Marked.
Yep. No, different thing.
Nope.
Placed on the map.
Put on the map. Later on in the campaign, chat, that'll be a joke you guys will probably get.
That's a secret joke for later.
It's not really a secret. There just hasn't been a context for it to come up yet.
I was gonna say, marked on the map, isn't that down by Einborg?
Not anymore. Not anymore.
So yeah, unless Nemo asks follow-up questions, that's the information she gets from Ieshige.
Yes. Like Nemo's just trying to keep conversations going while they're walking. She's trying to keep herself from complaining.
Oh, that's right, because
She's
Nemo
like, I
was
can do 2
fervently against
things.
the wilderness route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
I forgot.
So she can't complain. She's going to keep talking and force you to have a conversation with her.
Fair
Oh,
enough.
you're gonna try and force it. It's whether Yuji and Cole participate.
Nemo frantically flipping through her spells for the friend spell.
If
'Cause,
not
like,
that,
I would
calm
say
emotions.
I would say like in the week or so that they've been together, like they would have figured out that Nemo really doesn't like being cold, and she would let everyone know.
Yajiye would offer her blanket, but it is like 4 times the size of Nemo.
And
It just seems inconvenient to walk with, even folded, but it will be offered.
yeah,
Since
that's why you
Yajiye
carry
obviously
her in
doesn't
it.
need it. Just swaddle her, cat burrito her.
Yeah.
And just throw her on your back.
Gets to town. Oh, is that your child? Nemo pops her head around the edge. It's oh,
I'm an adult.
I'm a grown woman. Matter of fact, Nemo might be older than Yajiye. We don't know.
Who's to say?
How would we know? How would we ever know?
Yeah, how would they know?
They would know if they have a conversation with her.
Nope. Can't be done.
So, after that fantastic history lesson from Cole,
Oh, I don't share that.
oh you fucker.
Yeah, that was just Cole thinking to himself.
Cole goes
It's like,
silent for a
I-
solid 45 minutes after Yajiye says where she's from.
No, he's just thinking, does that ring a bell? Yeah, okay. Yeah, up there. Okay, they did the independence thing. Oh. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he doesn't share any of that. Yeah, he's not about to lecture someone about their homeland.
Let me tell you about
Mansplain.
your home.
Exactly.
Batavia,
No,
let me
it'd be
tell you all about it.
Nemo.
Yeah, it sure was a place that broke away from Garland.
Never wanted to be
Oh.
part of Garland in the first place.
Yeah. And all my homies hate Garland.
That's yeah. Fair enough. I see no fallacy in that statement.
Honestly, I don't think Cole. He probably has stronger feelings against the Hold than he does Garland.
Fair. I would believe that.
That's a recurring theme with my characters too.
They hate Cole any more than anything else.
They just sorry, there's a cat attacking my yarn again.
Oh no.
I guess Yajiye doesn't.
Yeah.
She probably dislikes Garland more and has no thoughts on the Hold. But
I would
many
think
of my
so.
other characters I've played in Yvard are anti-holders.
Or they're
Oh.
just Empire's agnostic.
What are you doing? Let go.
So, would Nemo know? Because Nemo didn't roll the history.
You can roll a history to see what you would know. But otherwise, as a default, I'd say no.
I know a little bit better.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do. In particular, 'cause one thing I forgot to mention for Cole is when Yejiye lists or like says that she's specifically from Arkun Gorba, you realize you could hear the name of any town in Matavia Valley and it would be nothing you know. You have no recollection for it. But Nemo, you would at least have heard of Arkun Gorba before, and the city to the south of it, Arkukari. Those are the two main, like, pretty much the only commerce settlements in Matavia that really interact with the wider world. So you would have probably at least heard of Matavian goods coming through markets where you are periodically. There's not a particular strong like draw to any of them that you would know of for the local people, but like you would have heard of these places and known, oh, Arkangorba, let me think about that. I know where that is. Right, that's from Matavia. Um,
My brain says that the goods aren't artisan, but they're well made and rustic.
Pretty much.
Mm.
They're very pragmatic, high tolerance for being used like excessively or roughly.
I can imagine at
Alright.
least one thing that comes out of Yejie's town would be very, very sturdy leather armor.
Yep.
It's like, it's leather armor, so you can't say it's the best armor, but man, it's some damn good leather armor.
Yeah. There's definitely even if it's not necessarily like artisan by design or economic reputation, there is a distinct visual style to pretty much anything you've ever seen come out of Matavia, just because of how they make stuff and what they make stuff out of is different than even is typical in like Gairland or up in the northern fringe. So you might not always be able to recognize, oh yeah, that's a Matavian blanket, but you would be able to see a blanket that has a unique style to it just out of the materials, the colors, the patterns, and be like, oh, that seems like it's specific to somewhere, and then learn it's Matavian and go, oh, yeah, right, duh, I should have known that. I've seen that. But one thing in particular that you would remember that Cole wouldn't about the actual history of Matavia Valley with your score is after the war ended, Gairland actually tried to go take Matavia back.
Huh?
And
Correct.
and their mountain line failed. Or
Ooh.
no, sorry, no. The mountain line held. Gairland failed to take it back, but they had their own other little war that is often overlooked in the history books because it wasn't, the old Empire's war and all the magnitude that it had. But the king of Gairland at the time, which all of you would know this. This is common knowledge in the world. Gairland doesn't have a king. They are not a monarch government anymore because after the old war, the king tried to go take Matavia back, despite the fact everybody was telling him we're sick of war, fucking stop. And he said, but if we take Matavia back, I can recover faster than Barrett Hold can and go hit them before they can break the truce first. So he was very determined to still try and eke out victory against Barrett Hold. And there was a revolt, actually, because he attacked Matavia within the garish heartland that was still part of the country. And it was a flat out coup. And they have not had a king since.
Get Cooge scrub.
And so all of that, Nemo, would be stuff you know that Cole does not.
Well, Nemo doesn't know that he doesn't know, so she's gonna word vomit to him.
Like, Yejie gives her 3 answers, and Nemo sneaks back to the back to just discuss it all with Cole as Yejie attempts to navigate. Just like pseudo fangirling over Matavia real quick. Matavia.
Oh, you could tell it's Matavian because like she was like, and look at her bag. That's the one way you could tell because of the certain patterns. You ever saw her blanket that she had out before? That one too. Oh yeah.
So fun fact about that actually, her bags of holding are very distinctly different than any other bags of holding you would have ever seen.
Because it
They're
was homemade.
pretty much, yeah. And
Made with love.
Yeah.
the style of the bags is largely beadwork
Oh.
in really bright, colorful, stark and contrasting beads. Many of them are fairly monotonous in color, but some of them have like ribbons or multicolor tones to them somehow. And the entire bag is just like rows and rows of strands covered in beadwork. So normally if you see a bag of holding in like normal at least 4E and 5E, there's like a little bit of beads involved, but this is like almost the entire thing. Like it is a beautiful item, but it is very, very distinctly Matavian in its art style. Like this was probably somebody's artisanal great work, if not masterpiece.
Mm. I stand with Made with Love. Uh,
Yeah.
um. So yeah, and then like after Neil's done like vomiting to Cole, she kind of just had like a problem. She's like, my tutor would be so proud. I actually listened.
I remembered something.
Yeah.
Cole chuckle at that and then ask, "You had a tutor?"
Yeah.
The defensiveness in that, yeah, was very good.
What of it?
He'll shrug. Not something everyone has access to. Was
Would
that
it make you?
just for general learning as you were growing up, or was that getting more into your trade?
And she like pauses for a second, looks down, looks up. It was court ordered.
Cole's gonna turn his head and give you a quizzical glance, but not say anything. Because that does not make any form of sense. He doesn't know how to address that. Because why would a court order you to have a tutor? So he doesn't know what to do with that.
Gobsmacked.
Just mouth
Yeah.
open like he's gonna say something and just like ah.
Yeah, he does not know how to follow that up. Just
Yeah, because Garrett has an education system, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So she sees the confusion. I wasn't allowed to attend school with the other kids. Yeah.
that's gonna be much more understanding of Cole's speed.
She brought it down to his level.
Well, yeah, it's like it was court ordered because of the racism. Okay, yeah, that's at
Like,
least how Cole's mind is taking that. Wasn't allowed to attend with the other kids. Oh yeah, I get that.
yeah. Not gonna tell you why, but yeah.
Well, yeah, Cole assumes he knows the answer.
Okay. Wait, Ayashi, did you go to school?
We had teachers, and we had a place where we went to learn from them. Because I'm going to assume she knows that that's not a traditional schooling now that she's been out and about in the world for a minute.
Correct. There was
Oh yeah.
education, but it wasn't necessarily a formal graded school system.
The way she attempts to describe it, it sounds sort of like little schoolhouse sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of trade school, more so than like sitting in a class and learning arithmetic and coding. I mean, magic.
And then she elbows Cole. Not you.
You can.
Bear it hold.
I mean, We already knew that.
Did you?
Yeah. We're literally introduced from with where are we from?
Well, there you go.
I like to imagine Nemo and Yejiye look at each other as if we are looking into the camera at the office
Yes.
and like roll our eyes.
That's where I'm from.
So what town? What hole did you crawl out of?
Cole is not gonna meet her eyes. He's just gonna keep looking forward. Doesn't matter.
You can't be asking people questions and then not give answers. Again, I thought we talked about that. You get nothing for nothing.
Cole's gonna look back at her and crack a grin. And then kind of tug on his bandana up a little bit to shake it and say, "You've been around enough to know that's not always how it works." That's his ochre bandana, just kind of ruffling it.
Can she
Kind of
push
say
him
without
in?
saying that, hey, mind your business.
Can she push him into a pond?
You can try.
Yeah, I'm gonna push him into a pond.
Yeah. Make an athletics check contested, Cole, by either an athletics or an acrobatics of your own. Treat it kind of like a grapple.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Yeah, so Nemo catches you entirely off guard. And I imagine it's like almost like Elaine from Seinfeld when she does like get out as like a get out of here to people. She shoves them unexpectedly hard, like into walls and furniture pieces. And I imagine that's exactly what this is. And oddly, now that I think about it, I think Nemo might be not very much shorter than she was. But yeah, yeah, Nemo, you give Cole a shove, and he ends up kind of going uh, off the path you guys are blazing through the grass. And Cole, you feel your heel strike a rock or something similar, and you just absolutely eat shit and disappear into the golden grass. There is a soft, um, like a little bit of a splash. It's not like a full body submerged, but Cole, one of your arms like splashes in a little 2 foot long pocket pond. That really is more luck based that it was there at all. There's no way you would have actually seen it.
Yep. So Cole disappears into the grass. There's a little splash. A beat of silence before he just starts laughing.
And the land has been fed. Chili raises her arms.
Cole's gonna shuffle up and just kind of shake his arm out as he keeps walking. Picks up his staff again that he was using as his walking stick. Just kind of shake his head and keep going. That was
Yejiye is
funny.
absolutely assuming this is some sort of like tiefling thing. Like, it seemed too casual to be anything but some sort of inside race joke she doesn't understand.
It's like how the goblins were playing, like, were using their swarming tactics as a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. Tieflings just casually sacrificing each other.
To make the land stronger.
Yeah.
Cole, as you're like getting back up, you realize what you tripped over rolled a bit. It wasn't like a super buried under the ground rock. And it's actually unearthed a little bit, and it's not a rock at all. You tripped over a bleached white skull.
Oh,
Damn
fuck
it.
yeah.
Of the humanoid variety.
At that, Cole's gonna stop laughing and say, wait. And he's gonna kind of bend down and examine it. Is there anything else, or is it literally just the skull?
Unless you start actually digging, the only thing easily findable is the skull.
Okay.
Uh,
But
I mean, it's pretty overgrown. You couldn't see it before. If you want to actually like try and look, you could make an investigation check. Find more pieces of this body.
yeah, because in the middle of a field, a humanoid skull just, huh. So, yeah, he's just gonna say, hold up a minute, and he's gonna do a little investigation as he crouches down and, oh wow, really?
You still got some of that pond water in your eye.
It might.
I told you to get the bad roll out earlier.
That's fine.
You don't find much else, but you do end up finding a couple feet away a hip bone, like an more or less intact pelvis.
Hip bones connected to
Three
the
bones.
leg bone.
Is there a hole in the skull or a break in the pelvis?
There is not that you can see.
Oh. Cole's gonna point those out to his traveling companions, and then just kind of glance around.
Oh, so the land has been eating good lately.
Well, maybe not lately. If they're that clean and that bright, they've
Does
probably
this
been here a while.
Ulf, with that roll, would I know? Does the skull smell?
The skull does not smell.
It's yeah. So he's gonna bend down again and take a long sniff of the skull. It's been several years.
I hate that, by the way.
Yeah,
Just out
Nemo
of
just like
character there
leans
for a
over.
second.
Yeah, Nemo just like leans forward and like squints at him like, the hell are you doing?
Cole's gonna kind of sit back on his haunches. The skull's intact, so no large animals got inside. Any of the small things that would break it down, there's an odor that retains within the gunk, and that lasts for several years. So a
Sorry, the
skull
really
will smell
technical term
bad
of gunk.
for a while.
Yeah, but I feel like even just looking at the condition of it, you should have been able to tell it's been here for quite a while without having to sniff it.
I kind of want it.
Cole, pull it from the ground, assuming he's able, and pass it over.
Yeah, no, it rolled free after you tripped over it.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Only mostly cursed.
We'll see. Nemo will do the thing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, Nemo doing the thing. That means Yejier and Cole, you guys get to go in the waiting room for a second.
Hooray!
Okay, and by doing
I
the...
really ought to. I really ought to let them know about that.
Eh. There have definitely been character secrets held for way longer.
Okay.
I assume by doing the thing you mean you're quickening or something else?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
One thing, as you are entering your quickening, you notice there is a smell to this skull.
Damn it, Cole.
But it smells burned. It smells acrid. It doesn't smell like rotten flesh goo or gunk, whatever technical term he used. What You are able to see as you focus in on your trance and enter your quickening, viewing the ethereal plane, is on the other side of the veil. The grass here is short. You have a much better range of view within your 60 feet that you can see around you in any direction. For whatever reason, the vegetation is a little bit shorter, but
Oh, it's younger.
there is a halfling woman just kind of running in circles around you. Not necessarily around you so much as a point a couple of feet away from you seems to be the center, and she is distressed and absolutely terrified.
Oh, could she speak to this woman and ask her if she's okay?
They're gone. They're all gone. I might be the last one. Oh God, what happened? I think
Nemo
they
looks
killed
at her.
everyone.
Who's they?
The demons.
The
The demons.
No, there are no demons around here.
There were demons at home. They broke my door. I saw them. And I ran. I don't know if they're still there. I don't know if they're still there. I don't know. I don't know where I am. Where am I? What is this? This is like the first sense any, or the first, you get the impression this is the first amount of any, like, clarity that this spirit has felt in a long time. Like, only just now realizing that they're not still probably running through the fringe.
Yeah. Um. Well, we call this the French now.
Oh, yeah. I live in the fringe.
Okay. Um. What year do you think it is?
329. That is the current year.
Oh, okay. Um. Do you have an idea what the people who attacked you look like?
Strange. I saw them in a book. I think they're called down over in the Flat Lakes. It's an ape. It is a big red ape, but they had horrible teeth, and they just smashed everything. They made vines grow out of the ground around some of the houses. I've never seen anything like it, and they smelled like sulfur. They smelled like dragon breath. Dragon breath is a common enough term for sulfur in the world. You would be
Yeah.
able to hear that and not expect, like, wait,
Brimstone.
you've actually smelled
Yeah.
a dragon's breath, which most people think dragons never existed.
Mm.
But yeah, sulfur, brimstone, that's the smell.
Oh shit. Maybe. um. Do. Is there anything I can do for you?
Where am I? This isn't the fringe.
We're north of. She wouldn't know Darbiton. Would she know Darbiton?
There's no way to know unless you. I mean, Darbiton's been technically around for a little bit trying to get built up, and she did say it was this year that she
Yeah.
thought it was, so she might know.
Yeah. So yeah, Nemo will ask her if she knows anything about Darbiton,
Isn't that where
and
that
try to give her an idea where they're at.
isn't that where that rich guy's building a town?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it. That's where I lived. Was north of Darbiton.
Oh. I haven't seen. I mean, I'm really short and I can't see past the grass, but uh, I
Oh,
haven't seen any buildings or structures.
recognition kind of dawns on her face. I'm a spirit now, aren't I?
Yeah.
Oh God. Then I think there's none of us left. I don't know if what do I do? You can see me, you can talk to me, you must know what do I do?
Uh, to be honest, I've never had to help someone pass through the veil or to whichever afterlife you believe you're gonna go to.
Uh,
But do you feel like you're being tethered here?
I don't know. I was just so afraid. I'm still so afraid.
And
I was trying to tell people what was happening. I was trying to go to Darbiton.
when did this happen to you?
Um, hold on, let me pull something up just to make sure I give you an accurate response.
Yeah, and you will give her like the date as close as she can give. You know.
Hmm. Do. Because I totally planned for this encounter. Totally did not improvise this. Because you pushed coal into the grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you put that thing there.
There is a place in here where this happened. Um, it was Haymoon. Haymoon is July essentially. Evard has a 12-month calendar like we do. The days are a little different. Uh, 28 days every month, even all 12. It's simple, straightforward. Haymoon is month 7, so it's more or less July. That is definitely not what we're in now.
Right.
I haven't nailed it down exactly still, but you're looking at probably more somewhere between September to November timeframe for these events that you
Yeah.
are a part of.
Okay.
So it's been a few months.
Okay. Um, um, so it's been a few months since that. And I haven't really heard much of anything what happened to you.
Um, Nobody did. Um, can you do me a favor? I,
Yeah.
I if nobody knows, then can you please? A minute has passed and your quickening ends.
Oh no. Uh, she turns it back on again.
Sorry, call dropped. I'm here again.
Yeah.
Lost
The
signal for a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, she kind of starts as you blip back into existence right in front of her. Can, can you please just tell anybody, anybody who is around here? These things came. They opened the air in the middle of our home, in the middle of our little village. They just ripped the air open and stepped through. Please tell someone, Arif or Darbiton, somewhere where they have people who can protect. Because we had nothing.
Yeah. I can I can try to spread the word. Is there anything I can do for you? Because I wouldn't feel right just to leave you like this.
Uh, uh, I don't know.
Did you follow a path?
No, I just ran.
I mean, did you pray to any god? Follow any
Oh,
religion?
no, not really. Uh, maybe just, uh, maybe find a Raven Queen priest and have them do something for me if they can.
I think I have a clue. Um, yeah, I'll mark the spot for you. Do would you would you prefer to be buried completely? Cause my friend tripped over you.
Oh, I don't know. No, I've been here long enough. I think I just want to rest where I am. And with that, you notice she starts to fade a little bit. Like
Oh,
her the essence of her spirit begins to get a little more transparent.
I'm like, does Nemo interpret that as her like passing on her own?
She's still around for a moment more, but
Hmm.
uh, I think that would be a fairly reasonable assumption to be like, oh, she has admitted that she just wants to rest.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe that's all she needs is to just have her soul calm the fuck down. Now that's
Anxiety, man. They bring
yeah,
you down in life and they get you in the afterlife too.
yup.
Alrighty. But yeah, like Nemo will kind of stay with her until either she fully passes or until her quickening gives up.
Okay. The quickening would end before she's fully gone, but you'd be pretty confident that's probably what's happening because she just seems to fatigue and get kind of loopy and spacey and non-responsive.
Okay. And then she snaps back to the other two.
Okay. Cool.
Just doesn't
And
Welcome back.
shit him enough.
oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Um, yeah, you guys saw Nemo do her thing again.
And just stare
And
Oh.
off into the air.
Oh, so
Sorry if you
she
heard me
had the
yelling at the
45
cats.
minutes where she was holding a skull, going,
poor Yorick, I knew him well.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. My brain stopped working.
Alas, alas, poor Yorick.
It was a little more like 2 minutes, but okay.
Yeah. Well, technically, there's a moment where she seemed like she regained consciousness in the middle there, and then did it again. Like just continued staring off
Zones
into the
out.
distance.
Yeah.
Zone.
Zones out. Snaps back. It makes a weird face, and then it goes zones out again.
I know we just got back, but could we take a wellness break?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's a good time to do so before we continue on with anything
Unless
else.
there's something that Nemo desperately needs to share with before Rad possibly forgets. Not that I think Rad would forget, but I would.
No.
Okay. Alrighty then. In that case, let's go ahead and take our wellness break. Everybody go do your thing. We'll be back. We'll go ahead and run 3 minutes of ads on the channel because that's what we do. And then we'll see you guys back here in a few minutes. Everybody go be nice to yourself in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Okay, be back soon.
Ooh.
Bye. All right, y'all. Well, you heard them. You know the deal. Do something nice. Something just for you as a treat. Whatever you got to do. I see Pez has redeemed a hydrate. I need to definitely be hydrating for my surgery tomorrow. So I will be doing plenty of that over the break, and we'll run 3 minutes of ads and be back and see what Nemo shares with the party. We'll see you then. Okay, sorry. Pez had needed my attention for a discussion quickly. But yeah, I think we're all back, so let's go ahead and get back to it and see what Nemo reveals to everybody. Welcome back.
Hello.
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 Oh, hello.
Hello.
Well,
Oh no, what have I done? I'm gonna start a howl.
Oh.
Dude, you're gonna start.
All right.
We watched that recently.
We did. It's very much in the forefront of my mind. Uh, yeah. So Nemo just came out of her as as far as I can remember it being described, essentially just her having an episode of absolute spacing out, like drop of a hat, totally just space cadet.
Yeah, I was looking at my joke like it could be like a transient stroke.
It's
One does.
it's just severely acute.
Nemo
but yeah.
did it. Of course, it's going to be severely cute.
Ah.
Aw,
Oh,
so cheesy.
gross.
I love it. But yeah.
As soon as she becomes back to her senses, Cole's gonna be looking at her and go, "You good?"
And she like looks up to Cole and Yeji like very confused, a little concerned. Actually, like she's kind of like drumming her fingers on the skull. Um, on a scale of 1 to 10, how crazy do you think I am now?
3?
Huh.
Wait, which side is crazy?
1 being not crazy, 10 being batshit crazy.
3.
5.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. And she holds up the skull. The owner of the skull said they were killed by demons.
Like, like demons from stories, demons,
Well,
or
that's what
things
I
that
told
looked
her.
demonic.
That's what I thought.
Hold up. Skull?
Huh?
The owner of the skull?
Who the fuck am I gonna talk to?
Like the
How the fuck are you talking with the dead?
Oh. And Nemo's gonna turn around and walk away.
Ayaju makes the like good point head nod, but also doesn't seem as perturbed as Cole about this.
Yeah.
Nemo's gonna make a break for Starbucks.
She's not gonna
Yeah,
make it like
'cause-
3 feet into the grass.
Yeah, because Ulf, I imagine Cole has the same taboo given.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, for him, this I assume is a big red flag.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm living under the assumption that A, those taboos don't exist quite as strongly in Batavia, but also she comes from a more spiritual sort of heritage.
I could see it going either way, so yeah, either one works for me. I find. Yeah.
So I
Either
mean,
one's justified for
Yeji has
Matavian.
definitely talked to her ancestors before.
Hmm?
Sometimes she just talks to the dinosaurs.
Hmm?
She talks to anything, really.
Except Cole.
Nemo, don't leave us. We won't talk to each other.
Also, I won't be able to use him as a wind kite.
Am I
So-
just a tool to you people?
No, you're also crazy. So I'm trying to think of how Cole would handle this situation.
Yejier will make sure that Nemo doesn't get lost in the grass, so if Cole isn't walking while he thinks, he's getting left behind.
He's gonna be walking. He's just gonna stay back a little as he's processing.
Okay. So did you know them? Asking Nemo.
Let's go to town. I wish we want to talk right now.
Wow, how the turntables.
Because I usually only talk to people I've known. But I guess you seem like the type to talk to strangers anyway, she says after a moment of thought, staring at Nemo.
And Nemo kind of just like holds the skull closer to her. I just want to make friends.
I mean, Cole said that the skull's been here a really long time, so she's trying to recall the last stories, I guess, of like demons when they were supposedly on this plane of existence. Would that be like a religion, a history?
Could be either. Could be Arcana. Could be nature, depending.
Trying to think of which approach she would go, because she'd probably hear it more in like folktale stories.
Probably, I'd say that's more of a history.
History, yeah.
Um,
Because if Cole said that it's been hundreds of years,
I didn't say 100. I said several.
okay,
'Cause I
that's true.
think-
You did say several.
Yeah, I think a skull stops smelling after it's like 5 or 7 years.
Well, either way, when was the last time that a Yejier thinks demons might have wandered this plane?
You would have heard folk stories that are given absolutely zero, like, actual credence to accuracy from mostly west of your home in the wildlands, involving any amount of fiend within maybe the last 2 to 3, 400 years, but nothing really more recent than that. There are stories of some individual people who saved villages in the wildlands from a demon or a devil of some kind. Sometime probably during the Old War. Not that that historically narrows anything down, but it excludes, 300 years. But
Mhm.
but that'd pretty much be all you'd be able to recall.
Okay.
There wouldn't really be any stories of them in Matavia.
Yeah. Now, just in general, thinking of like back in blah blah blah, they roamed the land just like us. So it's a well, I don't think demons have been here for like hundreds of years, if not more. But my uncle's nephew's son on my mother's side, a couple times removed, claimed they saw something, but I think it was just one of the raptors with the light hitting it weird while it was molting.
Nice. While she's thinking of that, Ulf, what I want to do is
Oh boy.
Cole's gonna try and logic his way through
Okay.
any possible way that what Nemo was claiming might have happened. So I'm thinking an Arcana check
Okay.
to try and identify, is there a magical way that that makes sense other than being, oh fucking no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that tracking?
That's fair. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense to me.
Okay. And I am using my inspiration to gain advantage.
Excellent. Make that Arcana check, buddy.
Coming from the man talking to a book that had a tongue stapled
Yes.
Yep.
Hey, don't worry about it.
It could totally be a lich, you know.
Cursed items are a thing, but so are enchanted items.
And
I-
so are cursed tieflings.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Cole, with that result, thinking about it, you would remember you've heard stories that, not necessarily where you're from, specifically, but in other parts of the hold in the really big cities, they will sometimes employ agents from the Royal Academy to come out and assist with high profile murders or other forms of unexpected, suspected foul play death. And rumor has it that those agents sometimes utilize a spell that will enable you to speak directly with a dead person. In theory, only the agents of the Academy or certain clerics of gods associated with death should be the only ones able to do this. But you've also been around the world, or at least this part of the world, enough to know that certain authorities, being the only authorized people to have certain access to magic or, you know, non-magic knowledge or goods, is very much kind of why the Ogre Pact exists. For a lot of its members, is to be the people who aren't supposed to have it but do. So, in theory, you have a precedent in your mind of somebody in the world is said to be able to do this, but you would probably still have a question of why Nemo? What, like, why this random person? Unless Nemo has some tie to magic that you don't know about, unless maybe Nemo is an agent of the Academy, would probably cross your mind. Or is associated with a temple of a death god. Or something happened underneath the ruins. All of those might check out, but at least those seem like plausible explanations that might help you wrap your head around this might not be Nemo playing a game, she might be telling the truth. There's
And I guess
it is
does
feasible that somebody
Yep.
could have magic to do this.
And does that make it any more palatable or still disturbing?
I think that would be up to you,
Okay.
but I feel like at least being able to pull forward that knowledge that there's a precedent and it's not like you've never heard of anybody being able to do this. I think it would make it less jarring. It wouldn't necessarily
Okay.
make it any harder to stomach if it's something that you're reacting so strongly to, but it would at least make it easier to like think about the topic, possibly talk about it, and question it if Nemo cooperated without just being like, what in the actual fuck, and not being able to keep your intellect focused on the task at hand and not on the emotional responses of, wait, what the shit is this? This isn't supposed to be able to happen. Because now you've established it can, according to what you've seen and heard. Not that you've ever seen anybody directly cast Speak with Dead, but in
Yeah, but
theory,
such a thing is theoretically possible.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Um. No, good. That's comforting, and Cole has questions and some ideas. So, after thinking for a while, Cole's mood will improve a bit. Not necessarily going to be engaging in conversation, but when they settle down for the night, he will have some questions. So I guess just infernal or in infernal. After he thinks for a while, he'll call up to Nemo. I'd like to talk in greater detail when we camp for the night.
Wow, you didn't even tell me where you're from.
Was that still an infernal or was that in common?
That would be a comment. Like, she's so upset. She doesn't even try to translate it.
Oh, that's what we're upset about right now? Still an infernal. I believe there's a bit of a weight to one of those against the other.
Yeah. Also, and she, still speaks in common. You were both wrong. The lady said that she died back in Hey Moon.
A couple months prior.
AJ is trying to determine how quickly she's seen a skull go bleached.
That's fast.
I mean, you could try to roll for it if you want.
And she still smells.
It's rude.
No, I can still smell the brimstone.
Oh.
Yeah, Cole, you got no sense of brimstone, let alone standard decomp goo.
Huh.
I will not roll for it. AJ is just going to nod that it doesn't seem too outlandish that the skull could look like that quickly.
There are a lot of insects in the prairie. That tracks enough to...
Yeah, that's exactly what my
Yeah.
brain said.
Yeah, sure.
So Cole's confused again, and he'll switch back to common now. So if it was recent, is that demon still around?
I think you'll be able to smell it before you see it.
By how big a margin?
And she like motions for the grass.
It's so unhelpful.
She said that they ripped open the air and stepped through. So, yeah, I don't know if they're still alive. Highly unlikely, because you would smell them, I imagine. And
Yeah,
they'd be
I imagine.
pretty hard to miss, given the description she gave.
Yeah, so with all of our conversations about portals earlier, at the very least, I'm guessing Cole's aware of like interplanar travel and such.
In theory, like, knowing there are other planes of existence, yes. Knowing about being able to rip a hole between planes and just traverse through, that would probably be alarming and more or less unheard of. Like, as far as pretty much any mage in the world that wasn't trained at the academy would know, the magics required to move between the planes of existence are extensive and not something you can just do on an impromptu level. Like, that is extremely advanced arcane mastery to be able to do that sort of stuff. So to just have the concept of someone able to rip a hole and just step through it into another world, that would still be disturbing.
Yeah, that's what Nemo's upset about. Nemo has her priorities straight.
As you guys are walking and having this discussion, you notice that the grass does start to get short again, and off in the distance you can see a couple of little blips on the horizon. that as you approach you can make out as a small scattering of buildings. You have time before you get there to continue your conversation, but you are seeing what looks like some sort of maybe a settlement, or at least a semi-permanent camp that has a cabin or two. It's hard to make out from this distance what they are, but you have a pretty clear line of sight to be able to see them coming up in a couple miles.
That must be her house.
How'd she get over here?
She was running.
That's fair. If I saw a demon, I'd run.
She was trying to run to Darbiton to warn them to ask for help.
How much information was shared? Between you and her.
Pretty much told you everything.
So, what are we likely to walk upon in this settlement? More bodies?
Yeah. She doesn't think anybody made it out if she didn't. She was very
Piaget will
tired.
keep her nose to the air while we approach the city, or the town, the scattering of buildings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just doing some snorfs.
Make a perception check.
What do they call it? A hamlet?
A hamlet indeed. The smallest form of settlement. More or less as far as D&D is concerned, and most other
It was
places.
so close to a 19.
Womp womp. Okay.
Wow.
Turns out I'm allergic to fringe grass.
Unfortunate, but mood. Yeah, you don't.
I only smell tieflings.
Yeah, you don't necessarily smell anything as you're coming up. You don't even see the movement that the other two do until you're pretty close. But Cole and Nemo, you do notice there is movement here as you get closer. But it's slow movement. It's not frantic. It's not energized. It's large-sized creatures, probably from the distance you're able to see, and they're familiar. As you get closer, you see that this is probably a hamlet at best, but it looks like it's just a kind of a cluster of a couple different farmhouses, like they were maybe starting a hamlet or just settled in one place and we're all within a quarter to half mile of each other. And just like shared responsibility for the food production and the work in the area. That's pretty common for these really rural settlements to start out as. But the only things moving that you find are about a half dozen horses. And they're
That's convenient.
they're just being horses.
Nemo still like scoots behind one of her companions. I don't have the best of luck with animals.
Why didn't she take a horse?
You think these are theirs?
I don't know. Do they look like they're domestic but have been feral for 2 months?
I mean, sure.
Free roaming might be a better term than feral.
Yeah, they're just living their best horsey lives. They got plenty of grass. There's probably a pond around somewhere. I mean, nobody would set up this fresh of a settlement if there wasn't some water source around. But you do see as you approach that particularly the the houses that were kind of closest together to each other all have some amount of damage. One of them has like the entire roof and gable over one side collapsed in. One just has several large holes in the walls, and there's definitely no sign of anything other than the horses that's been living here, unless it's like a mouse. But the horses are just around, and they are aware of you as you approach. They seem very aware of you pretty much as soon as you are able to make out that they're horses. And they don't run, but they do seem like they're a little bit tense.
As we're kind of walking into the settlement a little bit, Cole's gonna try. Trying to think what the right word is. Nickering at one of the horses.
Yeah.
Is that the phrase?
I'm not entirely certain, but I mean, that's what I imagined the sound was you were trying to make when you said nickering.
Yeah, it's the.
Is it touching?
For horses.
Something like that. But yeah, I am. I mean, either way, yeah, I know what sound you're trying to make at them.
Yeah.
And they just look at you.
Well, they don't run. And they don't charge.
So far.
Cole will be happy with that.
Simple man.
Yeah, they're acting like horses.
Yeah, some of them seem a little more interested in your approach and activity than others, but they don't get like riled up or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm debating on if Yeji has ever ridden a horse because she's been very big for most of her life. If she had other things that she'd probably, other animals, creatures she'd ride.
The source.
This might make the most sense to set up my camp for the night.
Bitch, what?
You want to set up camp where there was supposedly some sort of fiend attack 2 months ago.
You smell brimstone?
Did you smell brimstone on the skull?
So he's gonna look at Nemo. Do you smell brimstone?
Listen, do you smell that?
Roll my finger.
As you get into the middle of town while you're discussing this, you do notice there's one spot that is just torn up dirt. The grass has been completely uprooted. And this is not a big section. It's like maybe like a 10-foot by 2 or 3-foot like small trench where there's no grass. It's just been churned, but it looks like it's been that way for a while. Like the soil, most of it, a little bit of it looks like it's still got some moisture to it, like it'd been upturned recently, but not very much. Most of it looks like it's been churned up and left to air out and dry and reharden in the sun for a while.
Can we not stay here?
Guess what time of day is it?
This would be towards the end of the day by the time you're getting here. You would probably have maybe 2 hours still that you could travel before dark. If you guys want to continue traveling after dark, since you all have dark vision, that's perfectly fine. I was just operating off of standard day cycle travel, since that's what most of the surface world travels by. But it's up to you. Just remember to take your rest.
Yep. When she says that, Cole's gonna be looking around while he's thinking, we don't have to, but buildings are always a better defense than the open. especially where we don't have trees. We're just in prairie grass.
She said they opened their portal inside their home.
She say which one?
I don't know. Take a fucking look.
We could always continue walking until we hit the road. There's going to be a campsite before too long, I would assume. I mean, it would take another half day to do that, but
It'd be another 10 miles or so before you hit the Good King's Road.
Yeah. I want to poke around the houses quick.
What are you looking for?
I don't know. So, he'll go to look at the one with the most damage first. So probably the caved-in one.
Okay.
real quick, leaning over to Nemo, speaking very softly. On a scale of 1 to 10, how crazy do we think he is? Because the SGA, like, isn't super freaked out here, but she obviously feels no need to put her fingers into something that feels cursed.
Given his his current pattern, I'm leaning towards a 7 or an 8.
I was thinking a 6.
Oh.
But I mean, she also rated Nemo a lot lower on the crazy scale than Cole did, so I think her crazy scale is just a little skewed.
Just a little.
different parameters.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cole, go ahead and make an investigation check then about that house. And sounds like there's nothing in particular you are looking for.
Yeah, I'm trying to see, like... I'm not
Is
sure if he's
Nemo
looking
actually
for...
crazy?
Well, some kind of indication of trying to verify Nemo's story. So whether that's more bleached bones, whether that's looks like a place where some sort of magical shitstorm occurred, possibly ripping open a dimension, or kind of indication of what happened here.
Okay.
And then we'll kind of see what we see.
Okay. So the house that had the part of the roof caved in. As you start approaching and assessing it, you realize that on about halfway up one of the walls on the outside, there are big divots in the plaster that aren't necessarily anything super discernible, but like big, just like maybe half of an orange sized chunks of plaster just missing that are a few inches apart, like 3 or 4 inches apart from each other in most cases. And when you get over there to look at them, you realize down at your feet there are broken shingles that are just busted up and in very small pieces. You have to poke through the grass a little bit. But in poking through the grass a little bit, you also realize that there are a bunch of black, gnarled vines that are very dead, dried out, but they're still present enough as a husk of the once living plant that lead back behind you a couple feet into a cluster that's all based out of one point. And then you can see that those vines are actually, there's a lot of them out of that one cluster. And they look like they attempted to try and climb this building and one of the other buildings nearby, but now that they're dead. They've fallen off and are just now down in the grass. But going inside the building there's all the rubble associated with it. You have to climb and scoot and be very deliberate with how you're shifting your weight on the pile of rubble in there. But as far as you can tell, the structure of the place seems pretty good. I'm blanking on the term, but like the crossbar for the roof that goes from the top of one gable to the other across the whole roof, at the point where it's
So you remember Gable, but you forget Ridgepole?
yes, absolutely fucking yes, I did. So the ridgepole, thank you. Uh, the ridgepole at the spot where it's broken, where the collapse happened, everything else about the ridgepole that you can see is straight, is good, looks healthy and strong, and still structurally very sound, until it just looks like it snapped. It wasn't bent or bowed in any part that's still attached to it, and trying to sift through the rubble in order to look into that maybe a little bit more from what you can see, it looks like the ridgepole piece that bent or that broke off and collapsed. From what you can see of it, it looks like it was still pretty straight and still pretty okay. So it doesn't look like it just collapsed on its own. So something would have had to have broken it and either pulled it or pushed it downward to cause this cave in. And the rest of the space around that is otherwise kind of clean except for neglect. If there was an attack here that killed everybody, the place looks like a couple months ago was the last time anybody did any cleaning in here. There's dust, there's debris from, whatever the wind carries in as far as, leaves, whatever else. There's a couple rats in the back scurrying around that are clearly not used to having people be in that room with them. And you find more broken shingles, but not just that they were broken from the fall. Some of them have strange black scoring on them. And by trying to find some of these pieces and put them together, you can vaguely see. I mean, it's pretty hard to find all these pieces, and they're probably not from, the exact same shingles, but enough of them that show these sort of marks that if you were able to find all the right pieces, it maybe looks like it might be a big foot left a mark on some of these shingles. And then going back outside and continuing to look around, you find more of those vines. And underneath a different cluster of vines and the dried up husks of the actual tendrils themselves, you do find really old scraps of fabric still kind of stuck in some of them. And you do find underneath that a scattered set of bones.
Is that the implication that each of those coalesce? I forget the exact word you just used for the clusters of vines originated with a person, or that this one just
That is your inference to decide.
okay.
I'm presenting you with what you see. I will let you put the pieces together.
Gotcha. But yeah, Cole's gonna want to investigate each house, whether that be more of the same or just see if there's anything else jumps out.
Okay. In one of the other buildings that has a bunch of holes in the walls, it's the same thing. Structurally, it looks like it was probably fine. In the back of one of them, in the very back, where there's a bit of a dent in the plaster, not like a chunk missing, but it does look just fucking dented. underneath it, there's a bunch of rubble that looks like it's bigger pieces than would have come off if something hit the wall really hard. So possibly from the hole, one of the holes that you would enter through. But at the bottom of that dent, there is scattered bones and scraps of clothing garments.
I'll investigate buildings. Rats run away. You just hear in the background, "Fuck! Look at the size of that one."
As you, Cole, and any of you other two that want to be investigating, as this is happening, you do notice at one point, looking back out into kind of the center of the hamlet, one of the horses eventually makes its way over there and just starts pawing at that dirt trench a couple times and then leaves it alone and continues doing their thing.
I'll get
I
to that.
distinctly don't like that.
No. Cole, can we leave now? The horses are telling us things.
You can speak to them too.
You know, Cole, sometimes I really fucking hate you.
Only sometimes. Wow.
Sometimes that's better than I guess she hates.
Yeah. There's times you don't. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
And this is what we're gonna focus on.
Never took him for such an optimist.
Yeah.
I'm nearly done. So then it'd be the most quote-unquote pristine house after that.
Really, the only thing off about it is the door has been ripped off its hinges, but otherwise, the house looks more or less intact. And I say ripped off its hinges, you can tell in the door frame because there are no hinges. The wood of the door frame is just shredded where there would have been. You haven't seen a loose door floating around anywhere so far, but yeah, there's probably one somewhere. Probably overgrown with grass by this point. But inside, the table is set. There is a pot on the hearth that has a bunch of nasty, foul-smelling shit in it. But otherwise, there's nothing remarkable.
That's the most haunting thing yet.
Not the skeletons, no.
No, not the skeletons, not like the damaged building. A table set, food rot, empty house. That's nerve-wracking. That, I don't know about y'all, but yeah, to me, that's what sticks out. It's like, oh, it's an abandoned place. Yeah, there's destruction, but shit happened like.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure if you heard my snap.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So after walking through that, he's gonna go look at the trench, see where there's the most moisture, or the least hard packed, and kind of dig into it a little bit.
Yeah. You can dig into it a fair bit. The soil here, just as a base quality, is pretty dense, pretty clay heavy. But like the horse is able to paw some of it up with with their hooves. So particularly if you had wanted to grab any sort of tool to assist, even if it's like a camp knife, just to help create something you could stick a couple fingers into pull,
Yeah.
it just seems like it's more soil. Another one of the horses will come over and start pawing at it with you, though.
No, I don't like that.
I'm gonna check right where they are pawing.
Yeah. You don't find anything. I don't remember. Cole doesn't have a particular experience set with horses, right?
No.
Okay. You know what? Go ahead and make an insight check for me. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, nothing else about that then.
No.
You get no read on the horse's vibes.
Could talk with the dead, can't talk with the horse.
Y'all motherfuckers need a druid.
Nemo comes over. You want to fucking say that to my face?
Yeah, Cole's gonna kind of dust his hands off. Just kind of glance around.
As you glance around, you realize all of the other horses have come near. They're not all like pawing and helping you dig. Only the one is. But the others have all come up and seem to be watching intently. One of them starts to actually not quite like trot as, actual like horse technique, riding technique goes, but like still walk with a little bit more pep in their step, back and forth across both sides of the line, not directly over it, but like off to the side of where you are. You realize they're kind of going back and forth from one side of the trench to the other, behind all of the other horses. Seems a little bit more agitated.
The horse
Oh.
thinks we're stupid.
So I'm gonna walk over to right where that one's going across. Is there anything special about that section of dirt?
Nope. It's compacted now.
Cole's gonna kind of step back a little bit and just kind of like square up his fingers for a sec, looking at the line and the houses. Then he's gonna point at that. Gonna look over at the group and say, "Figure this might have been where they ripped the hole."
But why would the horses care? Also, do you think these horses belong to the people who lived here? Because it doesn't make sense to me that that woman wouldn't have fled without a horse, and that whoever
Unless the horses
killed
bolted?
everything here.
Horses
I feel like
horses could
feel
have
like
bolted, might not have had time to saddle them, might have been trying to sneak away. There's a number of reasons that
I feel like
might not
demons
have
are kind of
made sense.
predators. Predators chase things that run.
They're also intelligent.
How do you know?
It wouldn't be
Do you want me
dangerous
to
if
look
they
over?
weren't.
You know,
Oh,
a
what was
bear's
that?
pretty dangerous, but I wouldn't call it intelligent.
You don't think bears are intelligent? No.
Not intelligent enough to not chase a horse.
The best predators are highly intelligent. That's how they
Cole.
succeed.
Fluffing his shirt a little. Yes, the best predators.
Pops collar.
Wow. These wolves. He's talking about wolves. Coordination, group attacks, wearing enemies down.
Getting tricked by ravens.
Another smart creature.
Are the horses, they're just like not wearing anything. No decoration on them, no paint, no braids, no feathers, no beads.
Correct.
Really?
But they don't look like workhorses. They're not stocky draft horses. They are much thinner framed. Not
That is more odd.
not for like they're starving. They just have a different physique than what you would expect to see as a working steed anywhere around here.
Is there a barn?
Nope.
Or like a shed of any kind?
Not really. But come to think
about,
of
like,
it, there aren't really
water
a lot
trough?
for farm fields established either. They may have overgrown, but you don't see any big rows of intended crop space either.
How
But
many horses were there?
6.
And roughly how many beds did I pass?
More than 6.
And how many bone piles did I pass?
I want to say you found at least 3.
Shoot or unshoot? Shoot or barefoot, not the skeletons, the horses.
You gonna check?
They are soft-shoed with leather.
Huh.
Is that significant?
Not to you.
That's more. Yeah,
Damn
that's.
it!
That's
That's
not
more
a
confusing.
technique around here, though. That is
Yeah.
Cole, Nemo. That would be a method of shoeing a horse you've never seen,
Okay.
where it's essentially just like a almost like like the shoes you can put a dog in for
Yeah.
taking them
The
outside,
booties.
little booties, kind of
Yeah.
sort of like that, but the back is open, so you would slide a horse's hoof into it and then tie it off in the back to keep it secure.
Have their hoof steps been quieter than what they would typically hear a horse?
No.
Cole, did you see any horse tack in any of those buildings? Any bridles, saddles, blankets, even? Horse
Cole's gonna
blankets, specifically?
Yeah, Cole's gonna shake his head. No.
And people out here wouldn't keep horses that aren't for work or travel. They'd have to have yokes or saddles or something to work these horses.
Or a place
I'm
to water.
starting to suspect more and more that these horses aren't from the people who died here.
Well, where are they from?
The infernal plane.
Bum, bum, bum.
Why would
Night
they
falls,
have-
they all turn into nightmares.
Oh no.
That'd be good. I'm also just trying to logic through why you'd put a leather shoe on a horse, and my first thought is for heat mitigation. Because you don't have to worry about hooves getting cold. But
Or
getting
if you
hot
don't have
is a
access to
problem.
metal, but still
Yeah.
need some sort of foot protection.
But
The same
that's
reason
only
why
if
someone would
they're
wear
going-
sandals.
Yeah, but that's only if they're going on hard surfaces, or so like out in the plains, out in nature, doesn't matter so much.
I'm gonna motion to those foothills to the west that are just full of rocks.
Possible.
I don't know.
They're not
What's a typical
workhorses.
command for a horse?
Yeah, if they're not workhorses, they wouldn't have had a need for them, because just traveling over a little bit of rocks isn't going to cause problems. It's the repeated motion.
Don't see any wagons, and it's unusual for people to just have a horse that can only carry them in such a new settlement. At least I'm assuming I don't see any wagons.
No, you don't.
Or carts, whatever.
There'd be a couple of small carts, but
Like human carts.
probably, or even maybe like a donkey cart. You don't see any donkeys, but if not a human pulled cart, probably a smaller animal than a horse. And you still have not seen any of the tack that it would take to equip a cart to one of these horses or any other horse.
Nemo's gonna look to her little friend. How are they doing?
Your little friend?
Mm-hmm. He's
Yours?
always in
That
her shadow.
Ah, yes.
Oh.
Pulls out, a minigun.
Pal World style.
Yeah, it's
Say hello to her
Rico.
little friend.
Um, I would say mostly indifferent, but mildly interested.
But like, they're not reacting to
No,
anything.
no, not
Okay.
really.
It's not too bad around here then.
Now that we're staring at this churned up earth, does it look like the horses churned it up or have kept it churned up?
It looks like this has been. If something else started this churned up trench, the horses have definitely done more to it than was probably done before. Because now that you've seen them do it a few times, you realize this trench exists mostly because of that.
Okay, and that feels like it would take a little while for them to do that much consistent damage. I mean, it's a mystery. I'm not sure Yejier has the right skill set to solve at this time.
Yeah. Yeah, this thing's out of our realm of understanding for now. But Cole's gonna turn and look at Nemo.
Who's going to pretend she doesn't see him?
Well, he'll
Sorry,
at least glance down to the skull. There's some legitimacy to what she's saying. Something weird happened here. A lot of strength, scorch marks, several bodies of a very recent situation, strange plants. This
Why?
trench.
we can
Why
always
was she? Why?
ask once we get to Arif, or at least make someone aware of this situation. They're gonna have more resources than we do, surely. I also heard they have a lot of religious folk there. I don't think I know enough about the Mossad to know the thing that I want to say.
Correct. You do not.
Yeah, I figured.
Either that or see if there's a druid to come look at things, a ranger.
Not a cleric?
Yeah, maybe them.
There are nature domain clerics. That is a thing.
Oh yeah.
Nemo squints and she turns to Yeji. You're not one?
No, we don't really have clerics where I'm from. I mean, we have clerics, but they're not like common.
Oh.
Why do you think I was a cleric?
You said something about with the blessings of nature, and I just assumed you were like a follower of Melora.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm also pretty sure clerics have domains. Or estuaries. Sorry, wrong word. That was a Lauren mess up, not an ASGA mess up.
Ah.
Hmm. But after this interjection, Cole will kind of return attention to Nemo. I don't think she has a reason to lie. However, this does show support that you're not crazy. He's gonna smile and kind of give her a pat on the back before
Oh.
walking towards one of the horses and pulling out a ration to see if he can kind of get it to come so he can try and pet it and see if we can steal a horse.
You can make an animal handling check.
You can lose your fingers.
Maybe. There we go.
Yeah,
Is that
so
worth 1 or 2 fingers?
so you get your ration pack and the horse comes over and starts to eat out of your hand. And as it gets mostly through the food, it like takes one big whiff of your hand and freaks out.
Oh no.
Good job, Cole.
What's your AC?
It is 13.
All right, tie goes to the player. You barely manage to get out of the way because whatever sets the horse off, they whirl around and try to kick you. Full strength back leg kick. But you manage to just barely get out of the way. And then the horse like scoots off to the edge of the little more or less town square such that it ever was and just kind of stands on the periphery.
Bill's gonna look back down to his hand. Then back to Nemo.
I'm not sniffing it.
But how close do you think we smell to demons?
She kind of ponders this. I guess depends on your lineage.
Woman has a point.
Well, I don't think I'm getting a ride.
Don't worry, there may be hope for you yet.
What are you talking about? You got a date in a week. Who knows?
Exactly. I got one coming up. I don't need to worry.
Yeah.
Hell, shit, we might still be able to use a saddle. But it's kind of after kind of surveying the situation, kind of looking at the sky. Look back at Yeshiye. Well, we gotta keep heading this way.
I guess you'll take a moment to assess directions and point the direction to head. If we're not camping here, the road's that way.
Make a survival check.
How dare you?
Oh no. I believe.
I believe.
You know what?
If Anemo
Earning
can help,
inspiration
she
for no
will.
reason.
Yeah,
Earning
Okay, never mind.
inspiration for no reason.
That's smart.
I would have been fine anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you would have. Yeah. You're able to continue heading in the proper direction. And I guess it's up to you guys how much farther you want to go. But as stated, it's about another 10 miles or so, which would definitely take you to probably a little after midnight. So in order to get your full long rest, you would need to essentially kind of sleep in a bit. But you would end up at the road, whether or not there's a regular traveling campsite there.
Alright.
How tall is the grass where we get to if we stopped at a normal time? Can you? The cats.
Oh no.
Just can you the cats?
I heard that.
Hoban, stop being a
Hoban
jerk.
cheats because he's got longer legs than Zoe.
Oh.
So when they're fighting, well, not fighting, but
When
like
they're wrestling.
his legs are longer and he can just like put a single paw on her sternum while still slapping her and she can't reach.
It's very much like in old movies or cartoons where the taller person would just have a hand on some kid's forehead and the kid's swinging, trying to run at them, and
Yeah.
they're just It's
Yeah.
exactly that.
But yeah, is the grass pretty tall around where we would stop if we stopped like at a normal rest time? Because Yejie's main concern is going to be if we stop not at a campsite and don't spend quite a bit of time tamping down grass, it's going to be so frickin' wet in the morning. And it's going to be miserable, and you're going to get blisters. And I don't want to use my healing magic on that.
It'll be like knee-ish height, not for a Yegie. So like 2 to 3 feet high. It's been getting shorter as you've been getting closer to the Good King's Road, and it seems to be
Yeji-
continuing that trend.
If people aren't too exhausted, Yejie would probably lean towards continue walking. And if people seem a little on the fence, she'll remind them that the more we walk, the further away from that hamlet we get.
That motivates one of us.
And the more likely that we will find a proper campsite that we won't have to prep ourselves.
Okay, now we're talking.
So sort of misery now for comfort later, or just rest now for misery in the morning.
Yeah, hopefully we find
Yeah.
a decent spot before too long. I'd prefer not to sleep within sight of the road.
I think most of the campsites are tucked away at least a little.
Ish.
They're like off the road, but like there's
The-
usually some places.
Yeah, they're the ones that are regularly maintained by travelers and certain traveling clerics who like see that as a holy duty. They're pretty close to the roads. Like if not directly off the road, like maybe 100 feet off the road in a lot of cases if the terrain provides, which it does here.
And I can always set up the alarm to double as a secondary watchman.
Hmm. Can I get a piggyback ride?
No.
How heavy's Nemo?
Like 130-ish?
I think Nemo could probably get a piggyback ride.
Hell
Yay.
yeah.
Try and see what my inventory weighs real quick.
Alright, so, Rad, what I'm seeing in my mind is Cole on his back, arm in a puddle, and Nemo getting a piggyback ride, laughing as she and Yeje walk away. Art for the session.
Yeah. Especially considering all of Yejie's heavy stuff lives in the bags of holdings. She can carry Nemo.
Oh, also, there's a horse laughing at Cole.
Somehow a
Yes.
horse giving Cole the middle finger.
Just
So, fun anatomical fact.
It is the middle
Horse-
finger.
Yeah, exactly. Their hooves are essentially an extension of their middle finger or middle toes.
Yup.
So they're standing on a single finger, which would be their center one. So they are, in fact, flipping you off.
Yup.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So they were just flipping us off the entire time.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
They're
Yeji
saying,
is willing to
"Fuck
carry.
this ground."
Yeji is willing to carry Nemo on the caveat of Nemo taking first watch. AKA Nemo can sleep on Yejie's back for a bit.
Yay, okay.
Can use the blanket to like baby carry Nemo. Wrap it under her
Legit,
butt, put it over my
like-
shoulders.
Exactly, like you would, like a baby Bjorn, tie it like
Mhm.
it's be perfect.
I'm just imagining
it.
like a native, like a indigenous woman with her baby. on her back. I like that baby carrier thing.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But yeah. So,
Okay. Yeah, you guys set up for the night and settle your watch shifts. And you did go all the way to the road, or did not?
I'm happy to go all the way to the road, or like close enough that the road is in sight and we take 2 steps backwards, sort of thing, if there's not a campsite
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yep, that works.
woohoo!
Cool. Well, you've made it through the wilderness section of your trip, so we'll pick up next time with you guys
On
starting
Dragon Ball Z.
with you guys starting day 2 on the Good King's Road for the rest of your trip to Arif. And I can't promise that it'll be next week because we'll see. I am expecting I'll probably be feeling good enough to prep and run things after surgery for Wednesday next week, but technically they said recovery is a 1 week period, so I might still be feeling a little too shitty, but I will keep y'all posted as best I can. I would say for now, plan on
Yeah.
next week, same time, same place.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to clarify my plans next week might not work for me.
Oh, that's
so,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll keep y'all updated as well.
Okay. And
Okay.
everybody for your investigation, your travel, and your RP, take 100 XP.
Woohoo!
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Also, everyone have a good Juneteenth. If you have
Yeah.
the availability to have a good Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it out loud so it's out loud. I'm setting up alarm at our campsite.
Yes.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure it's like, I know I said I was going to do it, but officially saying I'll do it.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are there any EXP awarded for surviving the goblin swarm?
Take 5 XP for your harrowing adventure with the goblin swarm last time.
Woo!
It would have been more, but you died.
And now you will forever have that odd random 5 XP instead of a nice even interval of 10. And you forever from now you'll be like, why do I have 5? What is this 5 from? It's this moment right here.
It's from being stomped on by a child.
Yes, being jumped upon as you lay prone on the ground, full weight stomping onto your sternum by a small goblin child with a club.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will see about next week between assorted schedules and statuses. But yeah, we'll figure it out and make plans accordingly. Until then, everybody, as Pet said, have a good Juneteenth, have a good weekend, have a good, just have a good. And thanks for playing.
Yeah. Have a good
Thanks,
Elf.
Wolf.
I hope
Thank you.
I hope you have many sweet dreams of empty villages and collapsed roofs and
You
dinner
know it.
tables.
Yes.
Yes.
Good night. Goodbye.
Good night,
Good
goodbye.
night. Bye. Bye.
I had to send them off with some well wishing, you know? They seemed so interested in what they saw. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, everybody, whether you're watching this live or watching this on VOD. I hope, as Pez said, Juneteenth, if you are able to have a good one, is a good one for you and for those in your life. And you may or may not get some weird ass random Discord messages from me while I'm on painkillers after surgery. We'll see. I don't know what to expect from it. But I'll keep you guys posted as soon as we know whether or not we'll be playing next week on Wednesday or Thursday, or if we'll just be taking the whole week off for schedule stuff. But yeah, we'll get back to it. I'm excited for the group to get to Arif. Arif has a lot of stuff going on, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So take care. We'll see you then. And until then, stay tuned because there will be more to follow.